center manager has an office. There is a playground. So it's a comprehensive school. It has ECD and it has the primary component.
Yeah, that we agree, but what we get in most of the counties we go to is the ECD centers. Actually, most of them are domiciled in schools, but are they set aside? And how many are we talking about? Okay, you could have more streams. So if you have a center with maybe 5, 6 classes and a playground and an office, then that qualifies to be an ECD, and that is what maybe the senator is asking, because you find some people would feel that in their schools they don't have an ECD center because they have classes. So even for us, we would like to know in those schools how many are centers and how many are in classes.
And ask my
and also, Chair, so that he can answer together. Each ECD should be apart from the other, only 600 meters. Is that the same with Nairobi?
No, it's not possible in Nairobi.
Because that is the guideline that is there.
It is not possible. I think that works in counties with a lot of land. You know, in Nairobi, you can't get 600 meters from the primary school. So we've integrated them. You know, just because we have 696 square kilometers, and land is extremely expensive. And so that guideline, we're not able to comply with that. And so our schools, the standalone, is it 35? 30. The standalones, which are just purely ECD only, are 35. But the ones integrated are the 210, which are within still our infrastructure, which is why we've been able to do more development. We've built the kitchens in those schools, we do halls in those schools. We've had to remove many churches in these schools because we found people had long-term leases to build churches in schools. And I'm a Christian, but I tell them that is not how we should do it, because that infrastructure really is for our children. I can give you an example of Parklands Primary, where the space where we're to build more classrooms had been taken over by a church, and they were, and it wasn't that they come on Sunday only. They actually build physical infrastructure in the school during the week. And I called that pastor. I told him, look, we are all Christians, but this is not right. And
Governor, I hate to interrupt, but because I have to leave this, I requested to address these 4 on the stalled, or the ones that are stalled, or the ones that lack essential amenities, the toilets, the ones in Jiru, Madare North, Dandora, Area 4, and Molem. Just those 4 so that I can leave.
Molem, there is super.
Because there's 1 center.
Yeah, in super.
I agree. So the question was if we have qualified or trained ECD teachers.
Oh yes. In all our schools, we are close to 1,000. They are qualified and they're trained. Chair, we've not done a recruitment for a while. You realize the quagmire we have also with the ratio, but we're going to do it. I think for all store projects, Chair, our intention is to finish. They're not just in schools. Whether it is roads, etc. It's a budgetary issue. It is just a revenue issue. But we intend, in this current budget that we have, we reduced new projects so to complete all store projects. And that's a question that was in the devolution committee. Chair, earlier the senator had brought up that issue. A lot of the cancellation, Senator, have been coming from the Senate, and I can table that, including last week. I was supposed to be Public Accounts Committee. I received a letter on Monday telling me not to come. Public Investment Committee, the same. The only one was devolution, and I spoke to also Senator Catherine Muma. That one we will come and answer that question. A very important thing has been raised by the senator, and I'll tell you, Senator, I agree with you fully. If it was up to me, every single child in Nairobi should be on Dishi accounting. Every single child. Chair, we're feeding 316,000 children every day. We've built 17 central kitchens. Our partner has 1 big kitchen that has 60,000 meals. We've published regulations that now will allow even the public, because we'll set up a board, that has people from the private sector, the auditors, EDC, whoever, so that it's owned by the public. It's really, yeah, it's mainly a resource question. So what we've done, Senator, we've mapped out all the informal schools closest to a public primary school. Because what we intend to do is that at lunchtime, if a child is in an upbeat school, in Madari for instance, at lunchtime, they can go to Runo Primary, have lunch and go back to their school. Because you cannot deliver to all of those schools, but we're looking at the closest ones. To deliver it, we need to build an extra 68 kitchens to actually fill that capacity. Because as you've said, if you look at a third, compare 20 kitchens vis-a-vis the population, we're looking for support, monetary support to actually build those extra kitchens. It would be ideal. What I don't agree with is saying that we should not feed the ones we can. So that, because we can't feed all of the ones we can. Today, Chair, if you go to most parts of the city during a school day, you will not find the children would find during the day, street children, because they're in school because of food. These children don't even finish their food. They pack it and take it back home to their parents or to their siblings. It's a dire issue. In fact, my challenge now is what to do during the holidays. Because many parents are saying, yes, thank you, you cover them during the school days, but the holidays, we have a problem in some areas, Now, once these regulations are done, of course, we should depend on a reliable stream of resources. But using this watch, Chair, you will be able to adopt a child. People in the private sector can say, I'll feed a child for a month, I'll feed a child for a year. It is not sustainable, but it's the best that we can do for now. Chair, if we got additional resources, even a grant. In fact, if you look at the money, and I would like you as a committee to call NACONEC, the national body that deals with school feeding, some of those budgets should be transferred to us. Because you cannot compare the efficiency at all with what we do. So Senator, the plan is there. We're going to pilot in a few constituencies, mainly Madari constituency, Waraka and Dagoretti North, which is where we have a lot of the upbeat schools. We'll pilot, but it's really a resource issue. It is not.
So we just address timelines, and then Governor, wasn't there an undertaking by the national government to match the money from the county in terms of a feeding program? Is that being done?
It is not. Chair, there was an undertaking to match shilling by shilling. We have invoiced the national government up to, because the last year was 800 million, we've actually updated the invoice. It's close to now 2 billion shillings that they need to match to the county. They have not done it. The intergovernmental agreement that we've signed, that is deposited, talks about a matching of shilling for shilling on the school feeding program. Not a cent has been sent to Nairobi County. We've been handling it ourselves. So, Chair, that is something also you can pick up. I have spoken to the CS, the current CS, Migos Ogamba. I had raised it to the former CS, what's his name? Machogu. And I've raised it at the highest levels of this government. So, Chair, also the Senate can assist us with that, so that they can honor their part of it.
Thank you, Senator Sifuna. Thank you so much. At least there was okay. I have a senator who came in. Please come on record. And Senator Sifuna, if you have any concerns that you want this committee to deal with, please forward them to us.
My name is John Kenya, Senator of Laikipia, member of this committee.
I should also say a friend of the governor.
Chair. Okay, thank you. CS Senator Kavindu.
Yeah, Chair, mine is a suggestion to the governor. Before you build all those kitchens you want to build, how about transporting the food to the very needy children? Just transporting from one center to, ECDE to another one. Before you build.
Chair, thank you. And I want to thank you because from Machakos County, we get a lot of our onions and tomatoes for this program. We get Western grams from Busia County. We get, some provisions from Nyandarua, including cabbages. We get food from, it's an entire ecosystem, Chair. People just see the finished product. But the sourcing, the farmers, it's created 2,000 jobs. We have drivers and trucks, that do this work. It's a logistical issue. It is easier for the children to come closer to one center because we have one kitchen per sub-county, but we take the food to the serving stations in each school. Yeah. The informal schools you'll find have, one has 70 children, another one has 40, another one has 60. So if you do that, you'll spend a whole day just trying to cover. But we've mapped out, because it's a walking distance. Fortunately for us, the distances in the city are not too vast, you know, and so they're close to those schools. But we'll be making an appeal to the Senate in terms of how you can actually support through a conditional grant to the county specifically for that. And the reason I'm saying this is that many counties might not need a feeding program, because in many rural counties, food is available somehow, you know, and there's a social fabric. There's community. There's your grandma, the aunties, the relatives. It is very hard. But in Nairobi, I keep saying, if you have no money, you will sleep hungry, and you actually have nowhere to sleep. You can die of hunger, and your neighbor is having a party. Unfortunately, the urban poverty aspect of it, cities need to have such a program. You need it in Nairobi, you need it in Mombasa, you need it in Kisumu, and the cities with even Nyeri town, you know, because the kind of poverty, I'm sure you not believe, Senator Chair, there are more children out of school in Nairobi than in any arid county in this country. There are more children out of school in Nairobi than Turkana, than Garissa, than West Pokot, than Wajir. But we only see the affluent parts of the city. So we look at all those ideas. We're open to any idea that can help us reach more of our children.
Thank you, Senator Muma.
Madam Chair, I just took, before she goes, there's something that the Governor mentioned about the national government matching a shilling for a shilling. Was it a political statement or is a letter to that effect?
The shilling for shilling matching is in the intergovernmental agreement that was executed between ourselves and the Ministry of Education. So it is not a political statement. It is actually a written and documented thing. We have invoiced them thrice, and we will keep invoicing. They say the budgetary issues, but the current budget, where there's a provision for school feeding at the national level, can be used to actually support or rather honor the commitment that was made for the children of Nairobi.
Thank you, Senator Muma.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. Your Excellency, I have a number of questions. Chair, long before I joined the Committee on Education, I had asked some questions last year to the Governor and the Ministry of Education. Your Excellency, my questions are premised on the fact that the Constitution of Kenya and its benefits are supposed to accrue to every citizen, and in this instance to every child, on an equitable basis. Your county is a city, and it's a city county and a county city, and its largest population, in my view, is within the informal settlements. I have looked at in my question last year, and in the question that you were asked by this committee, you were asked about policies that you have for your education sector. Your response is to give the national government policy. You don't have any. In fact, to my answer last year, you said that there was a policy underway on VTC, but you did not have any on ECDE. My view is that you cannot implement a function effectively if you don't have a plan and a strategy around that function. So if we don't have a Nairobi County policy on early childhood education that contemplates what needs to be done in the informal settlements, we will never be able to deliver the right to education on an equitable basis or equal basis to children in informal settlements. So I would want to know, number one, what has stopped you from initiating a conversation to have an intergovernmental agreement, similar to the one you're saying about food, around the management of ECDE function within the schools? As you put it yourself, the property is yours, the schools were yours. So it's actually about you handing over a portion of that to national government, more than national government ceding anything to you. What has stopped you from having a collaborative agreement that enables you to take charge of the ECD function within the public schools. I want to give all the questions so that we move. Secondly, have you had any public participation concerns to listen to parents and learners in informal settlements to understand what they're going through in order to plan on how to provide for them? I know informal settlements are difficult to plan for, but under the NMS, we took hospitals to informal settlements because we were recognizing that the right to health accrues to them on an equal basis as others. So we must find a way of providing public services. What is it that Nairobi County will do 13 years after devolution to ensure that the children of those in informal settlements access education equally? I have looked at the numbers you gave me earlier, and you have, in my question, you had given me 227 ECD, public ECD centers. I think in the committee answer you have given 230, and I did ask that you give me a breakdown of how many of these public ECD facilities are located in informal settlements, and the breakdown you gave me brought me to 31 out of this lot. 31 are informal settlements, and yet the bulk of the population that requires this is in informal settlements. Chair, in my question I actually asked for the population, and you gave me the figure of 762 persons aged below 6 who require ECD services. So my question is, if you don't have a policy, how is your department planning for these learners? Or are these learners just left to fate and left to the mothers? As you have put it, in your feeding program, some of those children carry the food home because the situation is dire. So if the kids are sharing, the little public food is there, what is happening to those families around accessing actual education? It is something I would want you to look at. Secondly, I would want to know whether you have grants or any part contribution from partners on the school feeding program, and if so, how much have you received in that regard? But linked to my first question, if you had policy or if you have it, I would want to know what are you deliberately planning around support to the informal settlements so that we move from a paltry 31 facilities to support them, because the rest are actually supporting the middle class and the upper middle class. You have made reference to care centers, and I think care centers makes sense for urban areas like Nairobi, could actually be useful facilities for purposes of supporting single mothers and families that need actually to go out and look for livelihoods. I would want to know whether you also have a policy around care centers, how that differs from ECD, and whether you are actually deploying any budgetary allocations towards these care centers. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Kenywa.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Governor, I think it's easier that way, isn't it?
Madam Chair, there was a big story about 1 million chapati, which you made every student or learner in Nairobi believe that they'll be eating chapati every other day. I don't know whether it was a political statement or it happens. Because looking at what you have provided, you give for feeding program, I'm not seeing anything like, or anything close to chapati. Secondly, I'm looking at the budget. Your recurrent budget is drastically reducing. What does that mean? Is it that maybe some of your employees are retiring? Or what's exactly the reason? Because it's your budget. If I look at the year 2022, recurrent was 2. The year 2023-2024 was 1.9. The year 2024-2025 was 1.8. So why the reduction? My third question is, Governor, how many ECDs have you built yourself in your term? And are they fully furnished? Because I had you explaining and I could not understand. You said the ECD centers in Nairobi, your explanation keep on differing. But it's standard, it is provided for in the policy. What is an ECD center? Would it change in Nairobi? You talked about enrollment. Because of the feeding program, the enrollment increased by 29%. Is this because of food, or is it an act of God? Because the population is increasing. It goes without saying, when the population increases, of course the enrollment will go up, whether you are feeding the children or not. So would you say with authority the 29% is caused by the feeding program? Again, did you inherit any of your teachers from the default? Well, Nairobi was a city. Did you inherit the people from the default city council? Was it city? Nairobi was not city council. City council, yeah. Did you inherit from the city council? And lastly, Governor, you mentioned about the criteria for you to issue bursaries, and you mentioned you have complied, Muranga, Makueni, okay. And the trend is very good because all these governors who have complied, they're all senators, which is very good. But you're missing the fourth one, who I don't know who he is. But what is the criteria? Because basically that's not your function, to be issuing bursary to secondary school and to colleges. What is the criteria, so that at least, because many of the governors who are coming here, they're telling us, who was telling us they have the pending bill, or I think some governor came here and told us having pending bills. Are you not reading from the same script so that they would know what they're supposed to do, so that they can be allowed to give bursary, which is not their function? But of course we understand when there's difference between what the law says and what is on the ground. Like, you know, my work is to skiza ground. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. I think I don't want to ask mine now so that you finish, but I want to only add one thing to what he's saying. You mentioned earlier, Governor, that this was transfer of functions, actually. The intergovernmental relations agreement that you have signed is a transfer function. Was money followed? Is there money that was allocated to this function because it was transferred? Because even if it is bursary, we are talking of the agreement you signed, I think had bursary in it, and then you also mentioned that there is a 1 shilling to 1 shilling agreement. Does that bring back the functions, or what does it mean to transfer the function? You finish those, then I will ask my questions.
I'll start with the last one. Chair, the intergovernmental agreement or a requirement of the control of budget. If you ask many of us as governors, we don't see the bursary or scholarship support as a function that is being transferred. It is social protection, you know, and social protection actually is a function of the county. Because the function of education is teaching the child, it is building those classrooms, it is paying teachers. We're not doing that. What we're doing is giving support. But the requirement was given by the control of budget, and we're just pragmatic that, okay, if the control of budget insists that we should do an intergovernmental agreement, all counties did the intergovernmental agreement and signed. Gazetting, 4 of us have gazetted them. notification to the county assembly. So she's using Article 187. And so we're being pragmatic, saying, okay, that is what you insist to do. Because you can imagine, Chair, a child who is in Form 2 on our bursary, which we have committed to from Form 1 to Form 4, and suddenly the money is not there. Where does that child go? You know?
Yeah, we understand.
So we're just being pragmatic.
Yeah, we understand you. I want you so that you clarify that one answer.
But there's no money for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the issue of social protection.
Yeah.
You know, if you go for social protection, you'll do everything under social protection. But you have your own social protection even in health that is not sufficiently done. You have your social protection on these babies who are in formal sectors that is not done properly.
Yeah.
What as a committee we are interested in is the budget that has been given to a sector called education.
Yes.
And we are telling ourselves, what exactly must we do in that education sector? Must we be paying a university student who can go on strike if they don't get their right money? Because in fact the impact of that bursary to university did not stop the strikes. They went on strike because they didn't like the formula. They don't care who is going to do it, but they have said that we must go back to the original formula. So, although we have baptized it social protection, and you know this because you are a senator, we have baptized it social protection, we are affecting other sections, and we will be able to show you when we go to the VTCs what we are talking about. Of course, my biggest worry is what you mentioned, the numbers of your ECDE.
Yeah.
The numbers.
They're too low.
This is Nairobi. How can we be having this? But I hope you'll be able to give us also the figures of the number of primary schools you have, because I don't believe the primary schools in Nairobi are 230.
They're 210 actually, not 30.
210,
Yes.
which is a disaster
It is.
to begin with.
Yeah.
So it means we must build double the number of CCDs in between.
So
let me allow you to finish it, then we'll come back.
Yes, so Chair, what we're doing, you know, that is a number that has been there since I was in class 2, you know. Now I'm the governor, I have to build, and that's what we're building. That's why we're building 5,000 classrooms in this city. We don't have to build, you see, Nairobi is not like many counties that have vast distances. You may not need a new school, but you can build more classrooms. You can go up. You know, you don't have to look, because land is extremely expensive in the city. If an acre of land is costing you 200 million shillings, that would be how many classrooms, you know? So what we're doing is adding more classrooms within the same centers and then employing more teachers. Where we have land, like the example I've given, where we have public surrenders, you know, of land, when you do a subdivision scheme and 10% comes to the county, is where we can do new schools. Chair, on the intergovernmental agreement to fund or to allow counties to also issue scholarships and bursaries. And I'll give you the figures that I said were different. In 22-23, for instance, we gave bursaries to 134,127 children. 134,127 children. And scholarships to 4,988. Scholarships are those who've done well in class 8, and so you support them from Form 1 to Form 4. In 2023-24, it was 119,000 children. That's 500 million, 595 million shillings, and 5,100 scholarships, because now we onboarded a new Form 1 class. The reason why, Senator Kinyua, you're saying the recurrent budget went down, was once the controller of budget stopped the issuance of scholarships and bursaries, in a supplementary we removed it, because then you need that figure to balance something different. So that is why you see a sharp reduction in recurrent, because that is a recurrent expenditure. Development expenditure has been either constant or going up because it includes construction of ECD centers, or construction of central kitchens, or just renovation of the facilities that we have. Chair, Nairobi needs that affirmative action in the number of schools it has. And I've explained the context because I was born and I have grown up in this city. I know how the city was before multipartism and how it became after. And many of you are older, including the senator who is my cousin, who I will not mention because it's very difficult. But she's my auntie. So, you know, because of age, I call her auntie. So, auntie senator, there's a reason why this infrastructure was not built. I'm sure that you've seen a clip one day, I even shed a tear. Because that child needs a fair chance at life. No child chooses to be born in the slum or in the informal settlement. And the prerogative we have is to give them equality of opportunity. That a child born in Madari can have the same shot at life as a child born in Karen. The equalization is education. And if the thing that is bringing them to school is that they will get a meal and they will get off the streets. Chair, when I drive in this city, during the holidays, I find kids, whether it is outside Lavington, those children who will find there, and they come to me, they know my car, and ask them, why are you guys out here? They say, during holiday, there's no food. So we have to come look for the food. Chair, there's a young girl called Mildred, who, when we were doing scholarships last year, 2024, January, I met her. It was at Nairobi Milimani. She was wearing this watch. So I asked her, Mildred, you're getting a scholarship to go to Form 1. This watch is only for primaries. All my children wear this. This is a tab to it. This is what we use to verify that we have permission. This child is called Kavindo, and maybe there's this allergy or not. I can even tell how many children have gone to school today based on this. Yeah. So she was still wearing it. So I asked her, Mildred, why are you wearing this? And she said she's an orphan in Kangemi. She's been living with her grandmother. She had never gone to school for 3 days straight and so she was performing very badly. Until when we introduced this program in third term of 2023, is when she went to school for every day. She moved from the bottom of her class to top 10 in the city. And she got a chance to go to Loreto Convent, Limuru. So she said, because, yes, quoted, your school. So she said, because of this, yeah. So she said, because of having this chance at an education, she will never remove it. So in fact, now what I have to do is to keep refreshing her watch, because it's a symbol for her. The reason I wear it, I don't eat in those schools, but it's a commitment. It reminds me of the commitment of these children. And Senator Kinywa, 29% is because of food. The population does not grow by 29%. The population of Nairobi grows by 4%, 3 to 4% annually. I was talking to the headmaster of Hospital Hill Primary School. The head teacher tells me they have a waiting list of 6,000 parents who want to bring children to that one school because of food. So yes, what we've done is a pilot. We've shown that it is possible, that it can be done consistently. To date, we've done 60 million meals. 60 million, meaning we fed the whole country plus 10 million. It is scalable. And now with these regulations, and we'll have the board, you will see your people, whether it is your Safaricom CEO, the KPMG, who are not sitting in that board, and a secretariat. Nairobians can be able to support a child or sponsor a child and for it to be audited. So Chair, for the bursaries and the food, there has been no additional budgetary allocation, but our intergovernmental agreement on food specified a shilling for shilling matching. It just hasn't been done. And so the national government owes us that money. They owe us, and if you can help us get it, we'll be very happy. But it's a commitment made, it's on paper, it is signed. When I go to Senator Kinywa's questions, before I come to Senator Catherine Muma, the percentage growth is directly attributable. And I'll be very happy to table a report, Chair, of a study being done by the University of London, College of Hygiene and Health Sciences, on the health outcomes of these children. These children are much healthier. We're actually monitoring. Chair, every day we have labs. And I'd like, if this committee one day can come on a tour for me to showcase what this process is, from beginning to end, and we go to the schools. I would really...
We actually to counties after meeting the governor. We go to the counties. So we are coming.
Wonderful. That will be great. And so we test. We have our labs. Every single cauldron used, container used, every surface. When the food goes to school, the temperature is checked. If it is below a certain temperature, that food is not served. The container is sealed. The trucks are specialized. It is a high logistical exercise, and I thank God that it has been successful for the time it has been there. I don't want to cause karma by saying anything, but we have had no single incident since 2023, that time to 2025. The question on the chapatis, it was humorous, but it's a real, the children really wanted it, and they really want it. And so the 1 million came Because I was saying, look, if I feed 300,000 and each one takes 3, of course that comes to close to 1 million, but doesn't mean that you'll do that every single day. The machine that we have found does 6,000 to 8,000 a day. One has been paid for by the president. We are procuring the other one. And so some schools now can have it, it's not every day. Some schools can have today in one part of the city, we're in 6 barrels. Another barrel can have the next day or another day, but the children love it. School feeding cannot be how it was when we were kids, where you're given food that is boring, that you don't enjoy. It has to be nutritious, but also tasty and also exciting for the children, And our food is actually very, very tasty. It is nice. One day, if you walk down the road,
maybe Governor, as you're talking on that, so that I don't come back to it.
Yeah.
School feeding programs.
Yeah.
What is the relationship between building kitchens and having a service provider?
So the service provider, Chair, runs the service. The infrastructure is ours. So we built 17 of these central kitchens. Each of them does between 15 to 20,000 meals. But the employees there running the buses, sourcing the food, whether it is carrots, tomatoes, whatnot, is done by someone we have contracted called Food for Education. Because one, we saw that they have actually skin in the game because they have a huge kitchen that already built. When I was in the Senate, you remember when we had the Mang Bills bill by Senator Enoch. I spoke about what I saw in the Senate. Remember during COVID, there was a lot of vandalism that happened in schools. And so with friends of mine, I went to donate some desks in a few schools, in Olympic, in Dagoretti North, Katina Primary, and in Kinyanjui Road Primary. When I went to Kinyanjui Road Primary in these schools, normally when you go there, they'll say, oh, Senator Kinyua, we're happy to see you, we're excited. Then you ask the children, what do you want? They would say, we want a basketball, or they would say they want a school bus. But children started saying, we want food. And so I tried to bring an amendment into that bill to say that the national government must provide for school feeding by getting it from the farmers. Unfortunately, the bill didn't see light of day. I think it was reintroduced in this Senate. The number of counties that actually are contributing, to the program, I would love to list for you, including now. Unfortunately, Uasin Gishu is not benefiting because our product is maize, and we're not doing ugali yet. But some parts of the city, actually, the children want ugali. That is Westlands, Kangemi, and Kangware. The children are saying, I don't know why. But they're saying that. But I've just forgotten. There's something specific you've asked. Sorry?
I think you have answered that one.
Yeah.
It was a relationship between
so the infrastructure is ours.
And the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Because some of these ideas, Governor, some of the ideas you give us, we also transmit to other governors.
Yeah.
So where we have something positive, we pick from you. Where we have something negative, we tell you what the others have done.
So I was explaining when I saw that issue in the Senate, and I went to those schools. I was invited to a school called Mukarara Primary by the MP for Dagoretti South. Mukarara Primary had one kitchen built by this, or rather run by this institution called Food for Education that I saw. And I said, we need to replicate it. So when we actually engaged them and tendered, because they had skin in the game, in industrial area, they have the biggest kitchen in Africa that does 60,000 meals. And they started in Ruiru. If you just open it up, many brokers and entrepreneurs will come and say, oh, I can also do feeding, I can do it. But you need somebody with the expertise and with the passion to do it. So that is the nexus. And they've also built 7 of their own kitchens themselves. They are funded. They've gotten funding from the Children Investment Foundation Fund. I've seen there's a question on external funding. SIF has funded them. The only external support we've gotten was by the French government. In 2024, was it 2024? When we went to, I'll confirm, I think 2024, when we had the climate summit, that was in 2023 or 2024, one of the French ministers who came, called Crisula, she was the Minister of State, asked me to take her to see this program, and I took her to Kibra. And when I took her to Kibera, she was so excited because she saw a school with 6,000 children and all of them eating. So she committed a grant of 1 million euros. But the 1 million euros was sent directly. We told them support our partner. So that 1 million euros was sent to Food for Education, not to the county government of Nairobi, but Food for Education is audited on that, and the Auditor General has actually spoken to that. We've answered the questions. What that 1 million euros does is to support 10% of the children who can't afford the 5 shillings. It's hard to believe there are parents who can't afford that 5 shillings even, at 5 shillings per day, such that there's no child who is taken out of the line for food. We cannot, there's no worse, I don't know how to use, lack of dignity than to be pulled out of a lunch line for a child. And I've told schools to never do that. If a child completely doesn't have it, I'll fund, I will pay. So normally it's 10%. We've seen in schools, it's almost like indigence in help. It's normally around 10% of those who can't afford completely. Chair, Senator Kinyo, I hope I've answered your concerns. On the current scholarships and bursaries, I've given the numbers that we've done. And just think about it. If in 10 years, Nairobi has had governors and the mayors, we've had almost 4 governors. We've had Governor Kidero, Sonko, Kananu, NMS. In 10 years, they did 3 billion. In 2 years, they did 2 billion. In 10 years, 3 billion. In 2 years, 1.88 to be precise, billion. It's just this last year that the control of budget stopped us. But I'm glad even after yesterday's meeting, we're going to resume. And it's good for me using this platform to tell the parents of Nairobi that our program is resuming for bursaries and scholarships. Let me come to Senator Muma's questions.
Madam Chair, just a clarification, because he's so passionate about the issue of Dishi County. On page 4, on top of that page 4, I'm seeing the beneficiary ECD centers is 31 public ECD centers. Do you mean, because that one you're throwing me off balance, I'm seeing you have 230 public ECD centers. What does that mean? Does it mean these 31 are the only...
The standalone. The question was a standalone. But it's actually 231, the ones which are within our primary schools.
No, I'm looking at beneficiary because I'm following up. It's about food.
Yeah.
Page 4 on top, we are discussing food, and the beneficiary is 31. Is it that the 31 are the ones that you are feeding only?
We are feeding 200 and how many? 230 schools. Then this must be an error. But remember, I explained it is only 31 ECD centers that are on their own, that are not within a primary school.
Oh, they were based on, I thought, I'm looking at it in continuation to food, so I thought...
sorry about that. So it's actually 316,000 children,
316,000 children are being fed.
Every day.
Yeah.
316,000.
Maybe so that I dropped my question which I had earlier, and you picked it when you talked of donor support.
Yeah.
Why would you give a donor to a service provider instead of controlling the funding yourself? Because this thing you call Food for Education, by the way, is very attractive to any donor.
It was the donors.
So long as they know it is ring-fenced for that purpose.
Yeah.
But if you start spreading, it means you'll be looking for donors, and your service providers will be looking for donors, and you will meet. You will meet on the table of the donor.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because this is not the only donor you have. You can have Safaricom doing something, you can have all the others who are doing their social responsibility can also do the same. So why are we diverting it? I'm worried because in arid lands, some counties are giving free food 100%. And we have met governors here who give free food 100% to children in ECDE. The reason they have partners. The minute the partners think they are giving money to a service provider, they will run away from even the Nairobi good thing.
Chair, now that we have the regulations, they can provide for that direct funding to us. That time there were no regulations. We've now published those regulations. And at that point, it was the funders, wish to actually support this NGO. You see, the service provider is not like a vendor; it's actually an NGO, that attracts such funding. Now that we have regulations, all support to Dishi County will be coming to the county government. Chair. That will be neater, and I agree with your suggestion. It will actually be neater and easier for us to account for it, and to say for sure this amount has been used in this manner. Chair, that one I take your advice.
What to Muma's question, please?
So yes, so Senator Anti, number one. It is.
Governor, you're out of order.
Sorry. you know when anyway. Let me go to the questions. The education policy, generally, if you look at the fourth schedule of the Constitution, general education policy is domiciled with the ministry, with the national government, and counties implemented. For informal, what is that? What we have in terms of legislative intervention for the city, or rather our framework, one, we have Childcare Facilities Act that we've actually done in Nairobi to regulate that space. We have developed regulations then to operationalize that law, and we can be able to submit that. Actually, public participation around that is going on. We are trying to look at which framework we can have, because we've had meetings, formal meetings with these APBET schools and the ministry. And we're saying that, look, there needs to be, and I agree, Senator Muma, there needs to be a specific policy around this APBET. APBET means Alternative Provision of Basic Education and Training. You know, there are results that they have come up as a result of government not performing or not delivering to the people and not providing. If you go to the ministry says they don't recognize them. They don't recognize them. You cannot do an exam in that APBET school. And so I agree on the need for specific policy around the informal APBET schools, but the correlation of the number of schools in the informal settlements may not necessarily reflect how many of the children in informal settlements are in our schools. Because you find in every informal settlement in Nairobi, neighbors are semi-affluent or affluent area. So for instance, if you go to Muthaiga Primary School, there's no child from Muthaiga. They are from Madari.